Hello and welcome to my little escapade. This is Raul. I'm gonna be talking about the Sony A9, and I really wish I'd had this camera. I really wish I had, but it's so bloody expensive. It's like about $4,000, and this camera is amazing. The first thing I'm gonna tell you why it's amazing is because it has 4D focus, and therefore it has 693 autofocus points, and that is a lot. This camera, they've been talking on it in YouTube for a few months by now. It was released recently, and this camera is out there just to kick ass the competition. Basically, I haven't done much research, but I'm pretty sure no Canon and no Nikon can offer 693 autofocus points. That's just out of this world. Other than that, it's pretty much a standard mirrorless camera. It is small, and because it's mobile, since it's smaller than a full DSLR. Yeah, my daughter is over there in the background. That's so funny. Since it's lighter, well, it can fit into more places, and it could be a little bit more discreet, and therefore that's one of the advantages of having a mirrorless. Right now I'm gonna read you some specs. So you know what's under the hood, okay? It's got a 24.2 megapixel 35mm full frame stacked CMOS sensor with integral memory. It has a Bion's X processing engine. That's the processor, which has a reputation of being very fast. It has high-speed continuous shooting up to 20 frames per second. It has autofocus and tracking, so you can track your subjects. Now, what's cool about these Sony cameras and having so much autofocus points is that when you're out there shooting pictures, if you are tracking animals, if you're doing wildlife photography or sports photography in which your subject is constantly on the move, if you are taking photographs of a toddler, of a little child that's just running around, you can take advantage of this feature and take amazing and very sharp pictures, and that also lets the photographer play a lot with his foreground and lets the photographer choose what object does he want in focus and what not, and you can be very creative with those focuses and create some very unique and peculiar pictures. Again, it has 693 wide area face detection autofocus points, and it has truly a 5-axis stabilization. That is a 5-axis image stabilization with effectiveness equivalent to 5 stops lower shutter speed. So what that means is that the camera features an internal suspension or mechanism that keeps the sensor stable. No matter if you're walking or riding, it stabilizes, and it's not software stabilization. I mean it's like it's real in-body stabilization. For example, my camera right here, the Canon EOS M6, it has a image stabilization, but it's just a software that stabilizes the image. It's not like in-body stabilization. So even though Canon calls it 5-axis image stabilization, it's somewhat of a 5-axis image stabilization. It's not truly the in-body IS that many photographers and videographers are looking for. It measures 126.9 millimeters wide, and it's 95.6 millimeters long. That's like 5 inches long and 3.78 inches wide. Here's the picture over here at Sony. Sony.com, and you can see that it's kind of small for being a full frame. You know, full frames tend to be really large and bulky, and this gives you the advantage of really having a very powerful camera in the palm of your hands without taking up that much space. Other than that, let me see. It launched on April 2017, so it was not that long ago. It has a native ISO up to 51,200 and an extended ISO of 204,800. That is a lot. That is a lot. I mean, it's like, but that, you know, the downside, of course, is gonna be the price. A camera this powerful you can use to make, well, I think you can even shoot Hollywood movies with this camera. I mean, maybe low budget Hollywood movies, but they will be good. And I don't know, I just think it's the, in my opinion, it's the most powerful camera that you can buy, that's just out there waiting for you to grasp it and take advantage of it. Honestly, if I had to choose in between a second car and this camera, I would choose this camera. It's like $4,498. That's the price in Amazon, Adorama, and B&H Photo right here. And I'm taking this straight from the imageresourcing.com blog. This is a great website. Maybe I'll include the links below so you can see the review yourself. I'm very impressed by this camera. We have a lot of bloggers testing this camera and speaking awesome things about it. So I'm expecting this like to grow. Other than that, other than being a great camera, it's not perfect. Okay, do not expect long battery life from this camera. Usually Sony's have bad reputation for a lot of battery consumption due to they use a lot of power, and due to that the bodies are small. The batteries are not large enough to fulfill the energy requirements of the camera. Therefore, you might have very powerful camera and not a very long battery. Also, I think Jared Poling did a video that the camera had banding issues. I'm not too sure if he got a defective unit or not, so I'm not gonna speak generally for all Sony A9s out there. At least his model had banding issues. Banding issues is basically when you take a picture and you see these horizontal lines or horizontal shades in your picture when you don't want to. Maybe it could be caused by overheating. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on that area, but at least his model had banding issues. I don't know if like you take a lot of pictures and you don't give the camera a break, maybe it could have banding issues. Maybe it does not. Maybe his model was just defective and the camera really does not have any banding issues. Other than that, it may have some overheating issues. Sony has a reputation also for overheating. So for instance, let's say you're taking a bunch of pictures in the desert, the camera may definitely overheat. I mean, that's just pretty obvious. But also in the desert, pretty much every camera can overheat if you don't take the necessary precautions. Other than that, it could be very prone to overheating in normal weather if you're like taking a whole bunch of pictures. Like if you're non-stop taking 20 frames per second and it's like 100 degrees outside, definitely you're gonna have some overheating issues, but I'm not expecting that to be a big deal. Anyways, I think it's a great camera. They should make a model for bloggers in which the screen pops up. Unfortunately, Sony is not too popular with the flippy screens other than having it in the Sony RX100 Mark V and the Sony Alpha 5100. Other than that, I haven't seen much action with the flip up screen, which is very useful. Now with the blogging sensation, who knows, maybe they will include that in the future. What I do know is you can connect an external monitor and monitor yourself is if you're using this as a studio camera, but I wouldn't recommend it for blogging. I mean, a camera this expensive, I would just use it strictly for studio, making videos in my studio, or just professional photography, or maybe making videos outside, but of course with a team that can monitor the images and everything. Honestly, I wish I had one to review it. I do not. I'm renting this for a week. If you want to rent this camera, you can rent it at borrowlenses.com. It's around $239 per week, maybe $250. I'm not sure. We'll include the link below too. And maybe you can test it out. I want to test it. I'm not gonna test it anytime soon due to the economic factor. You know, I gotta use my money for buying equipment and not just renting it. But it would be nice if I get one. You know, if I can get one and play with it, it will be really cool. I mean, other than that, I heard the Sony interface. It's good, but it's not, you know, as user-friendly as Canon and Nikon. But you know, that's something I could get used to. You know, there's some things that you do have to sacrifice if you want to have real power in your hands, and that's one of them. You gotta learn the interface and start from scratch, read the manual and the whole 9 yards. So anyways, today I want to ask you, what do you think about this camera and if it's worth it? Is it worth it, the almost 5K it costs? Is it worth it? And what's the best thing you like about this camera? Please comment in the section below. And if you like this video, please like it, share, and I suggest that you subscribe. I'll be coming up with more content as I progress in my blog and in my photography. So thank you for watching, and you guys have an awesome day. Goodbye.